Hi. No music today. Let me adjust this just a little bit. So how are you doing? This week has been weird. I don't know why. I think it's the weather. It's been so gray. I think that's part of it. The sunlight really affects me these days. I'm getting old, I suppose. But it's just kind of made my mood kind of meh. But we're going to talk about something I think it's pretty exciting and uplifting today. So maybe that will help us feel a little bit better. Please don't pardon my messed up hair. Okay, so today we're going to talk about how to make a big change even when you're not really sure what you want. I mean, how many of us have been stuck, like in a career or in your life or personal life? I mean, just like, I don't know which way to go or what to do. I mean, I know that I have, and maybe you haven't, but we go through so many different seasons of life that, I mean, you might get into that point at some point, retirement or, stay at home mom or, trying to figure out what you're going to do after college or before college. There's all those question marks. So for me, when I started college, I knew that I wanted to go into the College of Communications. I didn't really know what I wanted to study, but I just knew that area interested me. And so that's where I started. And I think I eventually majored in every single department in that college at one point. But I landed in journalism and did public relations. And that's the path that I went down and got a job right out of school. Which I hated, and I promptly left after about a year. And of course I didn't have a backup plan because I was like 22 or 23. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. And so I left and I was stuck because I didn't know what to do. I had my plan and it didn't work out. And so then what? So like me, at some point in all of our lives, we're going to hit this point, whether you or somebody you're going to probably hit this wall. You're not going to feel fulfilled. You're not going to feel satisfied in what you're doing every day. And that really sucks. So this whole topic came along because I read this article in a magazine recently, and it talks about this strategy to help you find your way. So it was developed by a life coach. Her name is Stacy Kim, and she calls what I'm going to talk about today, she calls this the Lighthouse Method. So I'm sure that a lot of us, especially women, we are all about creating these plans, right? Like we can't do anything without a plan. And I know that I feel that way too. Like I felt that way about my career my whole life. Like I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, and then that will lead to whatever it was that I was working towards. But what happens when we don't really know where we want to go? It's really hard to make a plan, right? Because you don't, where do you start? Because you don't even know what you want to do. So, so this is where I think that the Lighthouse Method is so helpful when we get into these types of positions. So Stacy suggests that if you want to make a life change, but you don't really know what that should be or what that needs to look like, that you should think about this challenge as a lighthouse that's off in the far distance. And you don't know what the lighthouse looks like. You don't know where the lighthouse is located. All you see is just this dim light in the far distance. And to reach this far light, you just have to get off the shore, get in your boat, and start rowing. Okay, so then you're like, great. But which way do I go? What direction? I don't know what I want to do. So where do I go in this boat? So she suggests that you go towards something that you enjoy. So for me, thinking about this method, I look back at the time in my life that I was stuck. And so I'm kind of using that as an example. But so I was stuck in my career. I didn't know which way to go. So I thought about, okay, well, what types of things interest me. And one thing that had always really interested me was the fashion industry. And so I decided to kind of go down that rabbit hole. I was rowing my boat just to kind of see what avenues I could go down that I thought that I would enjoy and I could use my skills and the things that I like to do at work. And so that's kind of where I started. So for other people, it could be rekindling an old hobby. It could be adding a challenge to something that you're already doing and trying something a little bit different to challenge yourself. But it really could be anything. It could mean reading, writing, technology, really anything that you enjoy doing that brings you joy, to start kind of going down that path and seeing where it takes you. So as you're rowing along, of course, you're going to hit obstacles, right? What's life without an obstacle? We hit them all the time. And think about it. You're in this boat, you're rowing along, it's dark, you just have this like dim light. It's going to be scary, right? It's going to be super scary. And you're going to have fear and feelings of doubt and anxiety and all these things, negativity, are all going to just be like swirling around in your brain because it's something new. You're in the dark. You don't really know exactly where you're going or what you're doing, but we have to be able to overcome those feelings. So like for me, once I decided I was going to pursue the fashion industry, I moved to Los Angeles and I knew not a soul. And I was going into a brand new industry that I knew nothing about. And I, of course I had doubts and fears and negativity because I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't know if this was really going to end up being the right choice for me. I just had to have positivity and faith and belief in what I was doing. And the other piece of this puzzle is what we talked about a couple weeks ago when we were talking about mental toughness and enjoying the small wins along the way, right? So like you're in your boat and you're like slowly like rowing along, and all those things that you're doing to slowly row, you have to enjoy, because think about what happens if you stop rowing and you're just sitting in the water and you're not doing anything or going anywhere and you're stuck, right? So that doesn't help us. That does us no good. So Stacey advises that we have to be optimistic and we have to trust that we're going to succeed in reaching our lighthouse. We have to silence our inner critics and distract ourselves from allowing all these self-sabotaging things to permeate our brains. And so we have to keep going with the activities that we enjoy and help us kind of get over that hump. Okay, so figuring out this like age-old question of, what am I going to do with my life? What makes me happy? That's what I call the elephant, right? And how do you eat an elephant? One piece at a time. Exactly. So similar to what we, so it goes back to kind of what I mentioned about we have to find joy in the small steps. So we have to break down the big questions of what am I going to do with my life and all that kind of stuff, and make it into more bite-sized pieces. So when I moved to LA, I made friends. I got an internship. I, did these like small things and realized, okay, yeah, I can do this. I can find my way in this industry, and it became a lot less scary. And you know what? I got a lot closer to my lighthouse at the end of the day too. So, and I was able to build confidence in what I was doing. So by the end, when I was ready to go and go out into the industry with a full-time job, I felt very confident in what I was doing and that I was in the right place and I was going to enjoy what I was doing. So Stacey ended her article with this quote, which I loved, and I think this is so great and applicable for everybody that's feeling stuck. She says that the steps that we just talked about, she says that it might feel a bit counterintuitive, but if you don't really know what you want, she says you have to lose the map, enjoy the scenery, adjust the sails, let go of anchors, and gently row. You'll find that your lighthouse is much closer than you think. So I hand it to Stacey for coming up with this idea. If you want to know more about the Lighthouse Method, she has a book available on Amazon. Her name is Stacey Kim. It's called The Lighthouse Method, and you can go and read more about it if this interests you. She also has a website, which is lifejunctions.com. So if this is at all interesting to you, I'd absolutely recommend that you read more about it. Like I said, I came across this article. I thought it was really great information and wanted to share this with you all. I hope that y'all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you again for taking time to watch this video, and I hope that it's helpful for you. And thanks, y'all. Appreciate you.